So hey, welcome back to the 10-10 movement. If it's your first time here, a big welcome. What we're all about is helping you with areas of your life which may be causing you some pain or struggles, and we're looking to move that to where you consider yourself more successful, what we call living a more 10-10 experience of life. Now, today I've got a very special subject and something I trust is going to help lots of you. But it's what do you do when you feel like you have got anger in your body? What do you do when you feel like something outside of you is coming at you and you feel angry? In other words, you act in a very responsive, very reactive, very fast way. What do you do? How do you stop that? How do you prevent it going forward? Now, let me tell you, I'm going to give you one thing that you can do, which is brilliant at diffusing it. But how does this all work? Why do we feel angry when something outside of us happens? I always really say there's two of you in there. There's what I call the real you, which would be completely non-reactive to anything that happens outside of you. But trust me, that is a very, very rare human being. Most people have got this ancient part of their brains known as the reptilian part of your brain that is hyper-reactive, and this is what constitutes the ego self. So why I always say there's the real you is free of the ego you is very highly reactive. Now, we all have our own pattern of reacting, but let's just say you felt somebody is being very aggressive to you. You know, some people might call it, they feel like they're being attacked, and they could be being attacked verbally, mentally, maybe being physically attacked in the worst case scenario. But most commonly, and I saw it yesterday, it was very amazing how I saw an elderly gentleman. If you people watch, you'll see this sort of stuff going on. Obviously, it's good to know that you're doing it, what you're doing, how you're dealing with it, if indeed you're dealing with it very well. Amazing wife, Nikki B, and myself were parked in a sort of service area. And we were sort of just sitting there having a drink. And these two quite elderly couple, probably in their 80s, were going to walk across the road to get to their car. And literally, they were completely unaware that they were going to walk across the road. Now, it's in a service area, so nobody's going very fast or what have you. It's not a main road. But they literally were sort of chatting and looking at their car, and they started to just drift across the road. But there was a car coming. So no, the car didn't toot or anything like that. But the woman did a whole like that, as though the person who was in the road was in the wrong. So one of the things we do is we judge very quickly. So remember, this is just an incident that's outside of themselves, but very quickly she went into a place of a little bit, a tut can be sort of a bit angry. She's going, well, hold on a minute, I'm in the right, you're in the wrong to the driver here. But he was very fast. I mean, he literally bent down, looked in the window, and was very aggressive with the woman who was driving, who was completely not in the wrong. So this is what I call reactive behaviour. Now, it's a very mild case, but cars are a very big place where people start to be reactive and fall out. This is where road rage comes from in its worst form. So cars, big place this can happen. But look, it can happen at any time in your life where you feel, or your ego feels, it's been attacked. And the first thing it does is it moves to defend itself. I always say it's like it's got a shield and it tries to deflect off of itself, because one thing about your ego self, this part of you that's very reactive, is it hates either being wrong, but it definitely hates not being right as well. There's a subtle difference between not liking to be wrong and wanting to be right. So the ego has like this shield, and so whatever comes at us, we tend to try to deflect it. But what we also have is like a sword, and so we tend, in one way or another, to attack back. So that's what I saw this elderly couple do yesterday. They literally go, well, it's not our fault, and then they attacked back, just with a bit of a tut, but a bit of a not very nice look to the woman in the car. So very mild, but what you've got to notice is it's like instantaneous. instantaneous defense mechanism of the ego self. So when it's coming at you stronger, the stronger it is, the more you tend to notice the emotional response. Now, they're completely unaware, completely zero sensory acuity, firstly for drifting across the road, and secondly that they even got angry with the woman because they wanted to blame her for what effectively was their mistake. So this is just very fascinating. Now, if it was stronger, let's just say that, the woman started to shout back at him, and then you've got the makings of an argument. Notice how when you're in an argument, nobody wants to give up, nobody wants to be wronged, and one gets stronger, then the other one gets stronger, and that's how, it gets in the end to sort of a more even potentially a physical sense of a, disconnection, should we call it. So, but what you'll notice if you really become aware, and for me, awareness of you doing this personally is the first thing you need to do to stop it. Because all the time you're unaware, you're just going to walk through life getting angry at this or angry at that or whatever derivative of anger it could be. Everything from a tut to a rage is considered in the angry bucket, yeah? So it's like, what do you do? What do you do? Some people get angry at themselves. Some people get angry at the other person. So the ego's a very slippery character, and it, however it's molded itself throughout your life will be your reactive self. Now, what's not nice about this reactive self is that it's basically gives you adrenaline and puts you into a what I call fight and flight mode. So we tend to either move towards, and both yesterday, even though these people are in their 80s, they moved towards the woman who was just gently driving the car at, less than 5 miles an hour. They both moved towards her. So that's like fight and flight. They're in fight mode. They attacked her, albeit unbelievably mildly, but that's what it does. And so a little bit of adrenaline has gone into their system, and boom, they move towards her. Now, the woman in the car tended to do the opposite. She was not elderly, but she was definitely, maybe in her 50s. And she was like, whoa, a bit taken aback by their reaction to her. So her reaction was to get out of the way quick. So her fight and flight system was more, let's get out of here, let's run away. So you'll notice you're either a fighter or a runner-awayer. Now, some people do a bit of both. Some people will fight a bit, but then run away. Yeah? Some people, if you run away, you're unlikely to be a fighter anyway. Just notice what it is you do, and notice the effect that it has on the people around you in your life generally. Do you do this like with your partner? Do you do this with your parents? Do you do this with your kids? Do you do this with your siblings? Your immediate family. If you're doing it with them, then your experience is not going to be good, but their experience of you is not going to be good either. So what do we need to do to overcome the fact that we do this, yeah? We do this reactive, egoic, sort of reactive response to anything that we don't like that's happening outside of ourselves. So the number one step always is to be aware. The number two step is to accept that actually they're not doing anything to you. Now, that might be hard to take. They didn't come over to you and inject you with anger, did they? They didn't. This anger comes from inside of you. They have given you the opportunity, I always see, to learn about yourself and see this happen, see this anger, this adrenaline come to the surface that makes you either want to fight or want to run away. So once you become aware, and the second step is to really accept that they didn't inject you with the anger. So it's your anger. You're walking around with it. And maybe you've been walking around with it for years, because often it's created when you're very small. When you're a child, or even maybe when you're a teenager, where you have reacted to things outside of yourself in a certain way. And that becomes what we call a pattern of behavior. So whenever anything happens, you tend to run your pattern. And if you don't become aware of it, trust me, you will go through the rest of your life running that pattern. And if that pattern gets you results that are not giving you a 10 out of 10 life experience, this is something you can do that will move you towards having a more successful experience of life. But the first thing, we've got to be aware. Second thing, we've got to accept that we're doing this to ourselves. It's our reactive self, our ego self, that gives us this less than 10 out of 10 experience, because it fills us up with this fight and flight, adrenaline, cortisol, all those other hormonal concoctions that make us feel that way. So the antidote, you want to know the antidote. Look, it's not easy. I'm going to tell you, it's simple to say, not easy to do. But once you become aware and you accept, I would say you need to go to a quiet place. So not run away, but take yourself away. In other words, consciously choose to disengage from the situation. And one of the best places to go is to go into nature, because nature's out there right now. It's like a balance. The only thing that's putting nature out of balance right now is the human race, yeah? But actually, you know what it's like. You go to the woods, you go to the forest, go to the park, you know, whatever's near you, just go into somewhere, even if it was a field, just go into that field, and then you have now you're putting yourself in this place where there is a natural balance. Now, you'll find that your mind will be going 10 to the dozen generally, and it will be doing everything it can to make it their fault, not your fault, yeah? But what you have to do is you have to change your focus. You have to realise that your thinking is going around that they're wrong, you're not wrong, yeah? And as you do that, it's best to focus on something else. So you could focus on the nature, focus on the trees, listen for the birds singing. Do something that takes your focus. The other thing that you can do is to simply, I always go, this is too simple to be true, but it is true, is to do some breathing, really do some deep breathing. Maybe deep breathe get it right in your tummy or in your heart area, your breath, and do that for like 2 or 3 minutes. Focus on the nature. And you'll notice that what happens is your own adrenaline goes down. As you oxygenate your body, the adrenaline dissipates. And suddenly your thinking about this situation starts to change. So I encourage you to just try this on, test it out. You have to change your focus. Wherever your focus goes, it's said your energy will flow. Now, your energy means your emotional energy. Yeah? So if we're emotionally charged up by a situation outside of ourselves, by focusing on something completely different, getting some oxygen in your body, it starts to dissipate that reactive part, it's an ancient part of the human. It's almost like the animal part. It's why they call it the reptilian part of your brain. It's very snappy. Very snappy. So anyway, look, I trust that's helped you somewhat. Please do try it out. The next time you notice yourself being reactive to something that's happening outside of yourself, become aware of what's going on inside of you, what's happening to your chemistry, and what was your reaction. Now, if that reaction's not getting you a great experience, then I encourage you to play with going out in nature, doing some deep breathing, and seeing if you can take back control of your emotionality. Because all it means is that the reactive you's not in control of your emotions, and once you get you back in control of your emotions, your perception of everything can start to change. It definitely puts you in a place of choice, and it puts you in a place of decision to choose to see this differently, so that you're not reacting in such a negative and painful way. So look, that's it from me, Tony V, from the 10-10 movement. Trust you got something good from that. Let me know in the comments, if you go and give it a go, share with me what's your reactive self do? What does it do? What does your ego self do? And have you got control of it, or is it controlling you? Yeah, feel free to comment, and also, or ask questions. And if you got something good from this, or you know somebody that's very reactive, then either sit and watch this again with them, or share it. Just hit the share button. And if you are new to the channel, never seen this sort of stuff before, then please do hit the old subscribe button and the notification bell, because we make videos on a regular basis where we're looking to help you become more successful in your life and make life less of a struggle. And as I always say, move towards living a more 10 out of 10 life experience. So that's it from me. I'll see you in the next video.